You know that saying where people are like, if you're from everybody, you're for nobody, or a friend to all is a friend to none? There's no way you can have business relationships or real friendships or significant relationships with every single person you come across. You have to burn bridges because in no way does everybody's morality align with yours. Hello, welcome back to another episode of Make Up Your Mind. I'm your host, Jahleane, and today we're back with another episode, a solo episode at that, because, I wanted to break it up. We've had some really great guests all about, landing a job in 2025, how to become a full-time artist. But today I wanted to come and speak to you all one-on-one. I am just coming off a month-long hiatus. I took a break from the city, and during that time, I really had the chance to reflect, think about some things that have really impacted my career and my life in significant ways, and also some of the ways that you guys have mentioned that your career and lives have been impacted, and bring it to this platform to talk about it. And the number one thing that came to my mind was the concept of reciprocity and burning bridges. I did see this as a post online somewhere. I forget exactly where. I think I was scrolling Instagram. But the concept of it's okay to burn bridges, and if you're doing things the right way, you absolutely should be burning bridges because not everyone is absolutely aligned with you. And that goes hand in hand with reciprocity, or in the stories that some of you all have shared with me, in the sense that you have to give as much as you receive. And when you don't, there's an imbalance that has detrimental effects that you'll see later on down the line. So during today's episode, I'm going to be talking about some instances where that might have been prevalent for you, and also definitely how it's been prevalent for me, how I learned from it, and what you should never do in these kinds of situations. So first, starting off, my mentor story from hell. I think that this is one of the first big professional learning instances that I've ever had, in addition to what really made me learn what reciprocity was and how that looked like for not just a business relationship, but how it could show up in other areas of my life. So let me set the stage. As you can imagine, I was in my early 20s, very eager, very ambitious, ready to step out there, take the world by force, and start to build a career of my own. Obviously, I have the Postgrad Playbook. I've been a creator for some time, and I really wanted to expand my brand and my personal brand. So I'm like, I see a lot of people around me writing for media companies, a lot of girls who are doing the same thing that I wanted to do. And I said, oh my gosh, that would be a really great opportunity for me. Let me go find and pitch some. So as you know, I have a sales background. I go and I'm scouring LinkedIn. I am looking for people who have connections with this certain publication that I want to write with. And I find one. I message them. I spent all this time crafting a cold message to them, and they accept it. And they go ahead and put me into contact with the president of the media company. First, I'm like 22 at this time. So I'm like, that is absolutely perfect. I scored. I hit the jackpot. This is going to be amazing because here I am, a 22-year-old speaking with an executive at this company. It's going to be amazing. We have this conversation. Things go well. We message back and forth, and basically it comes out that there's an opportunity and they needed a content creator for their new media site. And me being 22, I was so honored that they would think about me. But there was no pay. I had a full-time job. I didn't really understand the means of content creation, how much money can be made in this business, all of that. So I was like, that's not a complete turnoff, but they did say that there'd be pay down the line, and there are so many opportunities coming down the pipeline, and also that the president would mentor me themselves. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. I'm like, you know what? That makes up for it. This is going to be awesome. But I did have a little pit in my stomach that was like, I don't know. I don't know if I should truly do this. But I went and did it anyway because it looked too good on paper to ignore. I go through this. I start to have a meeting with a mentor, and we set a cadence for monthly meetings. And I'm working with our content team and creating UGC content, sending it over, having these once a month meetings with his mentor. And at first, things start to go great. But then I start to notice after a bit of time, not a single opportunity has run through, and my mentor's canceling a lot of meetings with me. Over time, it gets to be more and more and more, and I'm giving, and I keep thinking to myself, well, maybe if I show up this way, or maybe if I start to provide value in this other way, or I make the video look so good, and I just keep giving, maybe they'll turn around and look at me and recognize my hard work and say, oh my gosh, she's been doing such a great job. Let us go ahead and give her this amazing opportunity. So I kept grinding it out until there was one day, I remember there was an opportunity that this media company was doing. And I see that they gave it to a creator who had no affiliation with the company instead of me. And I didn't feel too good about that. I felt passed over. I felt overlooked, and it wasn't complying with the original agreement. I felt horrible, but I also didn't know how to confront the situation. Mind you, I'm 22. Confrontation used to be a little bit hard for me back then. I talked to some other mentors that I have, and I figure out how to address it, being like, hey, what opportunities are coming down the pipeline? This was our original agreement. They say, yeah, things are coming. Spoiler alert, they were not coming. And I'm having this meeting with the mentor after so many of them had been canceled. And I remember she gets on the call and the first thing she says is, what do you want? And I only have 15 minutes instead of our scheduled 30. So at this point, I'm feeling frustrated. And I remember during the call, she proposed that instead of having this opportunity that should have been coming down the pipeline, she was going to design for me a full-time position to work at their company that was going to have all the elements that I wanted at their company. But again, I had that pit in my stomach that I ignored the first time around. If they made all these promises to me over the last 6 months and I left my current job to be with them, how did I know that this was going to be a good experience? And I didn't think it was going to be. I ended up rejecting the job and the whole thing blew up. No more relationship with the company, didn't really get any of the opportunities that I wanted, and it was just a burned bridge. And that ended up with me just feeling absolutely terrible. I felt like I had wasted my time. I felt like I wasted my energy. I felt like I had been taken for granted. And most importantly, I had a decreased sense of worthiness. And I didn't know if I was good enough to make it. Of course, when you're 22 and going after your dreams, you think that that is your whole world, but it really did affect me in that way where I didn't know if I was going to be able to make it professionally if I was running into situations like this. I knew that there was more out there, but in the moment that felt like my whole world. If someone who was so established in their industry was treating me this way, what's going to happen next? So was I doomed to this fate of just giving and giving and giving and just for it to not amount to anything, to get nothing returned? And obviously, no, that's not the case. And I was able to find bigger and better opportunities, better mentors who are more aligned, just got me set on the path I was supposed to be on. But what I learned here specifically about reciprocity is that it is a cycle, especially when it comes to your relationships, your career, mentors, whatever it is a cycle that if you are a people pleaser, if you're someone who's naturally generous, if you're a giver like me, you might fall into the cycle. You might see it every single day. And it's so important that you stop. It is giving without receiving in return is the fastest way to feel drained. It's the fastest way to feel taken advantage of. It's the fastest way to feel unworthy, because there were so many times in this dynamic that I thought to myself, is my best not even good enough to get an opportunity back? Like, why can't they see my worth? But your worth isn't something that other people are meant to see. It's something for you to see in yourself. So that way you can walk away from situations like that. And maybe I would have walked away from a situation like that a lot sooner. But of course, you're 22. You don't know as much back then. I do know a lot more now. But overall, here are a couple things that I learned from that relationship too. There is a right way to build a reciprocal relationship. You give value and you receive value in return. That can be knowledge, that can be connections, that can be resources. It can look like a lot of different things, but the biggest thing is outline what that looks like for you. If it is dealing with this in friendships, if you're giving someone all this emotional space and they aren't offering you commitment or their time back, or they're maybe just only talking about themselves in conversations, you're going to feel drained at the end of this interaction because they're literally sucking from your energy. It's an energy vampire. What do your guidelines look like for reciprocal relationships, and how can that be enforced? And if you don't know just yet, literally put it into ChatGPT and it will give you some examples. No matter what, there should always be a mutual relationship with growth on both sides. So in this case, for me, it would have looked like getting those opportunities right off the bat, and also when I wasn't seeing that, walking away. Also, it's really important to not settle for the bare minimum. A lot of times, if you're a people pleaser, you might feel in some ways that you should just be grateful that you have certain people around you. You should just be grateful that you're in certain rooms, or you should just be grateful to have the opportunity. But no, just grateful is one of the biggest lies that they tell you. That is how people who want to take advantage of you take advantage of you. Never just be grateful. Advocate for yourself and what you are worth. So if you're building a business, exposure is not enough. It's not enough at all. You need to get paid. It's not enough. You need to ask for fair compensation. If this is in a relationship, not just being grateful that you have friends who are filling back into your cup in the ways that are meaningful to you. Some people might associate reciprocity with the sense that they are keeping score, but it's so far from that. Reciprocity is ensuring that both people in a relationship are showing up and they're able to have successes. And when that's not happening on both sides, you're burning the bridge. And here's the misconception so many people get about burning bridges is they think that it's a negative thing. I grew up in a family where my parents really stressed that you have to be politically correct and you can't ruffle anybody's feathers. But as I get older, I think that burning bridges is necessary in your path for growth. I think that burning bridges is just a part of the game. You know that saying where people are like, if you're from everybody, you're for nobody, or a friend to all is a friend to none. There is no way you can have business relationships or real friendships or significant relationships with every single person you come across. You have to burn bridges because in no way does everybody's morality align with yours. Their business practices don't align with yours. Their vibe doesn't match yours. It's just not going to happen. And appeasing everyone will leave, again, your cup empty. And I don't think there are any bridges you'll regret burning. Unless you're just truly using people, which that kind of business and relationship isn't going to feel good anyways, there is not a bridge you're going to regret burning unless you're truly in the wrong about something, but that's a conversation for a whole nother day. This is going to get a little bit woo, but when the process of talking about reciprocity, I did touch a little bit on energy, and it's a give and take, right? You're receiving maybe their time, their value, their resources. But if this is a regular relationship or a friendship, a personal relationship, whatever, if you are giving and not receiving in return, either way, there's a tether that is established between two people. And if you're the one constantly giving in that relationship, the other person is an energy vampire. They're feeding off your energy. And even when you aren't around, somehow, some way, they are going to benefit from having you in their orbit. Whether it's knowing that you will do certain things from them, maybe you'll show up in a certain way and they don't have to put in as much effort at all. They don't have to live up to their end of a social contract, whatever that might look like. But over time, it adjusted so that you are the one putting in all this effort and they don't have to. That's what leaves people feeling so drained, so depleted, so unsure of themselves. And asking that question, I talked a little bit about before earlier in this episode, why can't they just show up for me in the way that I want them to show up for me? And the thing is that when people don't show up for you in the way that you would like them to, it's never an indication of your lack of worthiness, ever. It's an indication that they're just not a good person. Either way, it does show you that you need to walk away sooner rather than later. Some other ways that energy vampires can show up is someone who is a perpetual victim. Something is always someone else's fault. They never take accountability, live in a constant state of crisis. And maybe even when you offer solutions, they resist change. And so you're stuck in a cycle of going through the motions with them all the time, and they aren't able to get their shit together. And in these cases, you take a big step back. You ask them, what are you going to do about it? How are you going to solve the problem? And you don't intercede on their behalf. You set that strong boundary so that way you're protecting your energy and they are figuring out their stuff over there. The biggest clue of if someone is an energy vampire or not is how you feel after you hang out with them. Do you feel depleted or do you feel happy? Like I mentioned in my story a little bit earlier, I felt depleted, and I actually had that gut feeling and intuition going into this relationship that it wasn't going to work out. It wasn't going to be too great for me, but it looked so good on paper. I proceeded with it anyways, and that is my mistake that I've learned from. But overall, the secret to long-term reciprocal relationships is to know when to say no, set clear boundaries, give with intention, communicate your needs, and also walk away when it's necessary. Reciprocity is the key foundation to always just getting what you want out of all your relationships and having a successful future on both sides long term. Let me know if you have been in a one-sided relationship or how this has worked out for you. If you resonate with my story, whatever it is, no matter what, thank you so much for listening to another episode of Make Up Your Mind. If you are on YouTube, make sure you're subscribing. And if you are on Apple or Spotify, subscribe to the show. Either way, send me a DM, like the video, and I will see you next week for another episode. Bye.